Good morning, philosophers. Feel like a game show host. All right. Good morning. There is a very terrible paragraph that I ended the show that I ended the stream on yesterday. I'm going to read it again. I'm going to dissect it a little bit better than I did yesterday because it kind of took me off guard. It's like quintessential state indoctrination happening here. Socrates. Then what if the laws said, was that the agreement between us, Socrates? Or was it to respect the judgments that the city came to? And if we wondered at their words, they would perhaps add, Socrates, do not wonder at what we say, but answer, since you are accustomed to proceed by question and answer. Come now, what accusation do you bring against us and the city that you should try to destroy us? Did we not first bring you to birth? So the accusation is that, or his role playing the city as a person talking to him, using the word destroy us. When I first read it, I thought it was hyperbolic, but now I think it's perfectly accurate. If you place your judgment above the judgment of the commune, above the judgment of other people randomly selected to be on a jury, if you place your judgment above the law, then that is a mutually exclusive position to hold. Only one can stand. That's a contradiction. And so when they say, Socrates, do you wish destruction on us? Well, if he chooses to put his judgment above the law and those people and their opinions, it's kind of saying the same thing. So I like that. I think he got that part right. So this is the city quote, continuing to talk. Did we not first bring you to birth, and was it not through us that your father married your mother and begat you? Did we not bring you to birth? So he's crediting the city of Athens and its people with his birth and his mother and father's marriage, as if those things couldn't happen without the city. Tell you, do you find anything to criticize in those of us who are concerned with marriage? This is I think yesterday I said something like, this is the Rhodes argument. Do you hate the roads? Do you hate poor people? Do you not like driving on roads? This is the same thing. Do you not like marriage? Well, then you must, if you like marriage, then you must support the state. And if you don't agree with the government, then you hate marriage, poor people, and roads. And I would say that I do not criticize them, says Socrates. So back to the city. This is really hard because it's like back and forth between Socrates and the Athenians, the role-played Athenians. So we're back to, I'm just going to say Athenians in the future when they're talking. Athenians, or in those of us concerned with the nurture of babies and the education that you two received. Do you hate babies and public schools? Do you hate education? You have to have the state for those. Because the state educated you, you must supplicate yourself to the will of the people that call themselves the state. Were those assigned to that, this is Athenians again, were those assigned to that subject not right to instruct your father to educate you in the arts and in physical culture? Socrates, and I would say that they were right. Very well, they would continue, and after you were born and nurtured and educated, could you in the first place deny that you are our offspring and servant, both you and your forefathers? Wow. Because you were born, nurtured, and educated, don't you agree you're basically our property? Get fucked. That is my response. None of that was consensual or consented to beforehand. It's absurd. Okay. Man, wait, I want to talk to Socrates now. If that is so, this is still the Socrates role-playing the Athenians. If that is so, do you think that we are on an equal footing as regards to the right, and that whatever we do to you, it is right for you to do to us? This is basic reciprocity they're asking about. You were not on an equal footing with your father as regards to the right, nor with your master if you had one. So basically this is an argument against self-ownership. You are servile slave to the city and to your master if you have one, so as to retaliate for anything they did to you, to revile them if they reviled you, to beat them if they beat you, and so with many other things. Do you think you have this right to retaliation against your country and its laws? That if we undertake to destroy you and think it right to do so, you can undertake to destroy us as far as you can in return? They're basically saying, look, we get to do whatever we want to you because you were born and we educated you, and you just need to deal with it. And by they, I mean Socrates. This is Socrates. Oh my God. And will you say that you are right to do so, you who truly care for virtue? Is your wisdom such as not to realize that your country is to be honored more than your mother, your father, and all your ancestors? That it is more to be revered and more sacred, and that it counts for more among the gods and sensible men, that you must worship it, yield to it, and placate its anger more than your fathers? Your country is to be honored more than your mother, your father, and all your ancestors. This is why I talk about one of, the big three unquestionable superstitious authorities: family, God, and government. And we're talking about all three in the same sentence. And they're placing themselves above the family one. Extra insane. You must either persuade it or obey its orders, and endure in silence whatever it instructs you to endure, whether blows or bonds. And if it leads you into war to be wounded or killed, you must obey. To do so is right, and one must not give way or retreat to leave one's post. But both in war and in courts and everywhere else, one must obey the commands of one's city and country, or persuade it as to the nature of justice. It is impious to bring violence to bear against your mother or father. It is much more so to use it against your country. What shall we say in reply? So that was the end of Socrates role-playing Athenians. What shall we say in reply, Crito? That the laws speak the truth or not? They do not. That was Patrick. Crito says, I think they do. Socrates. Reflect now, Socrates, the laws might say, that if what we say is true, you are not treating us rightly by planning to do what you are planning. We have given you birth, nurtured you, educated you. We have given you and all other citizens a share of all the good things we could. Even so, by giving every Athenian the opportunity, once arrived at voting age and having observed the affairs of the city and us the laws, we proclaim that if we do not please him, he can take his possessions and go wherever he pleases. Not one of our laws raises any obstacle or forbids him. If he is not satisfied with us or the city, if one of you wants to go and live in a colony or wants to go anywhere else and keep his property, we say, however, that whoever of you remains, when he sees how we conduct our trials and manage the city in other ways, has in fact come to an agreement with us to obey our instructions. You live here, therefore you consent. This argument has not just been going on for 150 years. This argument has been going on for thousands, and it is still bad. This is the social contract. You live here, you use the non-optional, forcibly monopolized services the state provides, therefore you consent to the entire ball of wax. Utter non sequitur garbage. Sorry. Back to Athenians through Socrates. We say that the one who disobeys does wrong in these ways. First, because in us he disobeys his parents, also those who brought him up, and because in spite of his agreement he neither obeys us, nor, if we do something wrong, does he try to persuade us to do better. Yet we only propose things. We do not issue savage commands to do whatever we order. We give two alternatives, either to persuade us or to do what we say. Just vote, pleb. Just get involved in politics if you don't like how things work. We give you a peaceable, easy, you have the power to affect change. Just get involved. Play our game. Ugh. We give two alternatives, either to persuade us or to do what we say. He does neither. We do say that to you, too, Socrates, are open to those charges if you do what you have in mind. You would be among not the least but the most guilty of the Athenians. Socrates, and if I should say, why so, they might well be right to upbraid me and say that I'm among the Athenians who most definitely came to that agreement with them. They might well say, Socrates, we have convincing proofs that we and the city were congenial to you. You would not have dwelt here most consistently of all the Athenians if the city had not been exceedingly pleasant to you. You have never left the city, even to see a festival, nor for any other reason except military service. You have never gone to stay in any other city as people do. You have no desire to know another city or other laws. We and our city satisfied you. This is still the Athenians. So decisively did you choose us and agree to be a citizen under us. Also, you have had children in this city, thus showing that it was congenial to you. Then at your trial you could have assessed your penalty at exile if you wished. And you are now attempting to do against the city's wishes what you could have then done with her consent. Then you prided yourself that you did not resent death, but you chose, as you said, death in preference to exile. Now, however, those words do not make you ashamed, and you pay no heed to us. The laws, as you plan to Excuse me. Still having allergies here. Now, however, those words do not make you ashamed, and you pay no heed to us. The laws, as you plan to destroy us, and you act like the meanest type of slave by trying to run away, contrary to your commitments, and your agreement to live as a citizen under us. First, then, answer us on this very point, whether we speak the truth when we say that you agreed, not only in words but by your deeds, to live in accordance with us. What are we to say to that, Crito? Must we not agree? Crito, we must, Socrates. Socrates, surely, they might say, you are breaking the commitments and agreements that you made with us without compulsion or deceit, and under no pressure of time for deliberation. You have had 70 years during which you could have gone away if you did not like us, and if you thought our agreements unjust. You did not choose to go to Sparta or to Crete, which you are always saying are well governed, nor to any other city, Greek or foreign. You have been away from Athens less than the lame or the blind or other handicapped people. It is clear that the city has been outstandingly more congenial to you than other Athenians, and so have we, the laws. For what city can please without laws? Will you then now stick to our agreements? You will, Socrates, if we can persuade you and not make yourself a laughing-stock by leaving the city. For consider what good you will do yourself or your friends by breaking our agreements and committing such a wrong. It is pretty obvious that your friends will themselves be in danger of exile, disenfranchisement, and loss of property. As for yourself, if you go to one of the nearby cities, Thebes or Megara, both are well governed. You will arrive as an enemy to their government. All who care for their city will look on you with suspicion as a destroyer of the laws. Reminded me of the nickname they gave me in the Libertarian Party, the Destroyer. You will also strengthen the conviction of the jury that they passed the right sentence on you, for anyone who destroys the laws could easily be thought to corrupt the young and the ignorant. Or will you avoid cities that are well governed and men who are civilized? If you do this, will your life be worth living? Will you have social intercourse with them and not be ashamed to talk to them? And what will you say? The same as you did here, that virtue and justice are man's most precious possession, along with lawful behavior and the laws. Do you not think that Socrates would appear to be an unseemly kind of person? One must think so. Or will you leave those places and go to Crito's friends in Thessaly, where you will find the greatest license and disorder, and they may enjoy hearing from you how absurdly you escaped from prison in some disguise, in a leather jerkin or some other things in which escapees wrap themselves, thus altering your appearance? Will there be no one to say that you, likely to live but a short time more, were so greedy for life that you transgressed the most important laws? Possibly, Socrates, if you do not annoy anyone, but if you do, many disgraceful things will be said about you. You will spend your time ingratiating yourself with all men and be at their beck and call. What will you do in Thessaly but feast as if you had gone to a banquet in Thessaly? As for those conversations of yours about justice and the rest of virtue, where will they be? You say you want to live for the sake of your children, that you may bring them up and educate them. How so? Will you bring them up and educate them by taking them to Thessaly and making strangers of them, that they may enjoy that too? Or not so, but they will be better brought up and educated here while you are alive, though absent. Yes, your friends will look after them. Will they look after them if you go and live in Thessaly, but not if you go away to the underworld? If those who profess themselves your friends are any good at all, one must assume that they will. Be persuaded by us who have brought you up, Socrates. Do not value either your children or your life or anything else more than goodness, in order that when you arrive in Hades you may have all this as your defense before the rulers there. If you do this deed, you will not think it better or more just or more pious here, nor will any one of your friends, nor will it be better for you when you arrive yonder. As it is, you depart, if you depart, after being wronged not by us the laws, but by men. But if you depart after shamefully returning wrong for wrong and mistreatment for mistreatment, after breaking your agreements and commitments with us, after mistreating those you should mistreat least, yourself, your friends, your country, and us, we shall be angry with you while you are still alive, and our brothers, the laws of the underworld, will not receive you kindly, knowing that you tried to destroy us as far as you could. Do not let Crito persuade you rather than us to do what he says. Crito, my dear friend, be assured that these are the words I seem to hear as the Corybants seem to hear the music of their flutes, and the echo of these words resound in me and makes it impossible for me to hear anything else. As far as my present beliefs go, if you speak in opposition to them, you will speak in vain. However, if you think you can accomplish anything, speak. Crito. I have nothing to say, Socrates. Socrates. Let it be then, Crito, and let us act in this way, since this is the way the god is leading us. That is the end of Crito. A holy dumpster fire of statist wrongthink. It's both inspiring to see somebody with the bravery to face death over their principles, and it's also super enraging that that he had an opportunity to escape and merely defend himself against these attackers and chose not to. And the lesson to take away, not the lesson, but the lesson I'm taking away, is that standing by one's principles, staking one's life on one's principles, is a super brave, super honorable, awesome, good thing to do, as long as your premises are correct. The premises that support your principles. If you've got your premises wrong, then your principles might lead you to stand for something that is wrong, or at very least not right, not real, not worth it. We have to have our principles in line if we're going to stand by them, which means that we have to examine them constantly to make sure that we're in line with truth, which goes back to the theme of the month. It's almost like I planned this, but I totally didn't. So the thing I'm going to be thinking about today is the true cost of my actions. The truth about the cost of my actions. For each thing I do today, I'm going to practice this. I'm going to examine the true cost of the action. Because every action has a cost. Let me find the quote that I was reading. Half of your success comes from what you do not... half of your success comes from what you do not do. What you do not allow yourself to get dragged into. For this skill, you must learn to judge all things by what they cost you. So, and this kind of, all of these, it's uncanny, but I guess it makes sense that a lot of these points of wisdom just kind of mesh together, like, do less better. Kind of the same thing. Stop doing unnecessary things. Think about what you're doing before you do it. If I assess the true cost of an action I'm about to take as being worth it, then it's super wise and calming and tranquil to accept that cost beforehand. Be okay with the cost that you're about to pay, rather than just sort of take actions based on feels and then realize the costs are later and then have to deal with sort of the emotional impact and the other impacts. They have to deal with the cost that you weren't expecting. So today, I'm going to think about the costs of all of my decisions and actions beforehand and make sure they're good. Just as a practice, like an experiment, not an experiment, but just like it's a good habit to build in general. Hey, I'm about to do this thing. Let me just think about the costs real quick and make sure I'm willing to pay them. Make sure it's worth it. Okay, guys, that's it for today. A little bit of a long one, but I wanted to finish Crito so that, there was actually something to read next time. Next time I will begin Phaedo. The next book we're going to go through is Phaedo. This is known to the descriptive title, On the Soul. It is a drama about Socrates' last hour and his death in the jail at Athens. So, super not depressing stuff to read, right? It seems like we can always learn something, though. Even if he's wrong, we can learn something and at least get the opportunity to think through things, examine our life. The unexamined life is not worth living. All right, guys, have a great day. Talk to you tomorrow.